Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. If you're listening, welcome back as well to the Ecom Club podcast, where our aim is to serve you up some raw insights from D2C brands, cut the crap, and actually grow. Now, today, guys, I'm really excited to dive headfirst into the changing world of SEO, which I'm sure is something on all of yours mind. And we got a person today with who's done it all, really, and that is Jonathan Turton. So Jonathan currently is the e-commerce manager at Avery Row, and he's got a shed load of experience in e-commerce from Piglet Embed, Groupon, Voucher Cloud, and a lot more. So without further ado, Jonathan, welcome on stage.
Hi, everyone.
Hey, Jonathan, how's it going?
Yeah, really good, thanks. You all good?
Yeah, I'm good. I think I might have a little bit of a delay here. It must be because it's my evening and it's your guys' morning. I don't know. Do you guys have a delay?
No, I think it's just your brain.
Oh, wonderful. Jonathan, could you give us a quick fire intro? Give us a highlights reel. You know, what's your experience in the SEO field with ecom?
Yeah, cool. So started off with a small agency in Bath called Zonky, where I dabbled with the SEO whilst it was still in the Wild West, really. Things being made up on the fly, and I'm brainstorming whether you can use emojis, as ranking factors, that kind of thing. Happy days. And then I went to McCann Erickson, where I worked in account management. Wasn't my forte, but I seemed to be the only one in the agency that knew anything about SEO, so all the SEO questions came to me. And then went to Voucher Cloud, originally on maternity cover, but worked in the SEO department there. Then I was scouted by the BI team, which was growing at the time, to join them. And then as part of that, lend some SEO background to help with various things, especially with culling of a lot of pages on for Groupon and Voucher Cloud, and just then lent into all the data, then optimizing all the pages and trying to improve conversion and bounce rate, and then realize that improving bounce rate improved rankings. So then start working closely again with the SEO team to formulate a whole optimization strategy for Voucher Cloud, then adopted by Groupon. And then went from Groupon to a startup called Beeswax Wraps during COVID, and then from there a little stint at Pet Drugs Online, and then scouted by Piglet Embed, contacted by their CMO Jake via recommendation on Twitter. That was quite random.
Nice.
So that was nice. Then worked there for about 3 years. Oversaw all their their largest period of growth. I'm ranking for their top terms in the UK and the US. Very much punching above their weight, which was really great to see. And then carried on doing the same thing at Avery Row.
And which out of all of those got you hooked on the SEO train?
Oh, the glamour, really. The glitz, big bright lights of SEO. It's just I've made a career of doing things people don't want to do.
Good way to do it.
It's always been the duller of all the subjects, and when it comes to e-commerce, it's very easy to get bogged down in the technicals, which I find generally interesting. I'm that kind of guy who finds admin interesting, that kind of thing. So my favourite kind of films are ones where there's a lot of intense admin. Like I really enjoyed, what's the one with Oppenheimer recently? So great.
That's the profile, man.
Give me the context of why I'm actually interested in SEO.
I think it took me about 4 days to watch Oppenheimer. I was getting a bit of anxiety just from watching all of that.
SEO, it's just not sexy at all. I was very happy to get amongst it, even with and then it's constantly changing, so you have to stay relatively on your toes. And then the brands I've been working for have always been plucky. So it's only Groupon really where it had a big authority to start off with and just start ranking fairly easily for different things. That's the first time ever. Voucher Cloud, Piglet Embed, and Avery Row have all had lower domain authorities than all the competitors, and they just have to do to really hustle to start ranking above them and getting all this extra kind of free traffic. But you've got tight budgets. It was the channel to optimize, really.
So you like that kind of getting your hands dirty, fixing problems, and kind of pushing to get bigger effective. Is that kind of what you say drives you now?
Yeah, very much so. I like bootstrapped environments, frankly, where because you can just throw money at that problem, but you have to really get under the hood, as it were, and get your hands dirty to get results. And I like that challenge more than anything.
I mean, one of the things I want to ask you about, Jonathan, is look, I hate these LinkedIn posts where they say X is dead. And one of the things that you always hear about is SEO is dead, or it rises from the ashes. Now, it's this constant sort of rhetoric that is put out there. Now, look, you mentioned there about obviously sort of driving that traffic for, sort of both UK and US markets. In terms of the past few years, in your eyes, what really has changed from an SEO perspective? Do you think that those newer brands coming out, the grind is still worth it from an SEO perspective to drive that organic traffic?
Yeah, I think the grind is definitely still worth it. SEO being dead has been said ever since I started SEO. Frankly, but particularly I remember when, I think it was like 2015, 14, when paid ads started taking up a lot more chunk in the SERPs. Yeah, I remember the PPC team was looking over at glee, going like, "You don't need you anymore." But no, it's still standing. Yeah, it's still there. It's just evolved over time. I think changes have been made for the better. Recently, with the introduction of AI, I think it has dipped, and the space has been a bit more taken up by paid as well, a bit more overtly than it has previously. So a lot of the impression share has been just soaked up. It's very much pay to play with everything these days. But you do still see the benefits of SEO, especially when you're able to, when you're a small brand punching above your weight, and you're able to get optimized for keywords that have a large amount of search volume, even if they're not actually clicking on you, just the impression share alone. It's the way I've tried to equate this is, imagine it's a billboard, and you have, say, your top keywords, like that's Times Square. So everyone can see your name. They're not necessarily going to buy your product straight away, but your name is associated with all these other brands who are more established in the space, so therefore they will then think of you. But one of the biggest changes really is the synergy kind of between social media and SEO, and I think that's just going to get bigger. So I'm fairly keen to try and get as much short form content on the e-commerce, on the websites as much as possible, building towards. Piglet. Yeah, we're building towards linking all the social media channels to the website, and then try and surface those on the product pages and by the PDP images themselves. Then try and do the similar thing as well in Avery Row. I think right now when if you Google TikTok or whatever to get the actual videos in there, but I think in the future that short form format it's become more important. So being optimized videos within your product pages, people Googling you and making them surface on your collector page, like coming up with results. So instead of the meta descriptions, a video might come up and it will give a summary. Yeah. I think that's where it's going. But with the AI introduction, like it's been hit or miss, hasn't it? You see some horror stories of what comes up, and at its worst case, it's probably going to get someone killed, with misinformation. But yes, it's still got a lot of work to go, and I don't think Google should be leaning on it too heavily right now until it's a bit more confident. But like speaking to Naomi at the Ecom Collab Club, he like she was fairly confident. Well, in 6 months' time, SEO will be completely different. Which I think she's fairly correct to an extent, but I think fundamentally what we have to do on a day-to-day is not going to change.
Yeah, I want to pick up actually onto that video element you mentioned there. With video, are you guys also making those shoppable?
Yeah, it would be, yeah. I've experimented with a few apps. I can't remember the name of the app actually right now. It's like Shoply, something like that.
Yeah, because I think there's Video Wire, there's Shoply. I think there's Live Me Up video. I think there's Firework as well. So there's quite a few out there. It's just, I think that's probably an interesting one for us, isn't it, Bob? Is that we find that works pretty well from an on-site conversion point of view. And I guess also, like what you're saying there is that there's benefits in terms of that video side from an SEO perspective. But when you were at Piglet Embed, I know obviously, look, you worked actually with an agency there. And I know you guys snagged a drum award, which was incredible. And I think one of the things that probably a lot of people are, listening to this is they might either be working with an agency currently, or perhaps actually, thinking about working with an agency. When obviously you think about SEO, look, ultimately, you guys probably, have a firm strategy that you want, but you need support. What's sort of that secret sauce of making that relationship work, and then equally getting out what you need from it at the end of the day?
Yeah, so Piglet worked with an agency called Novos. Yeah, really good. I'd recommend them. Yeah, it helped that I had an SEO background. So the way the retainer was split was part of it was digital PR and the other part was technical. And we, it's called front-loaded the digital PR side more. because on a date, well, one, the brand team at the time was growing, so we didn't have the capacity to outreach as much as possible. And the technical side, kind of got away with it because I had that background in the first place. But yeah, knowing what my own deficiencies were and just time, and being open to advice, and like having my own prejudices challenged as well, like that's great. So I think being very open-minded, if you do have a background in it, and being willing to learn, and then knowing when you need assistance with things really helped. And I had a really good positive relationship with Novos. Yeah, kept things friendly. Try to gift them things as much as possible from Piglet, birthdays and whatnot.
I think it's an interesting, wasn't it? Because like we talk about sort of agency and brand relationships a lot, internally as a company, obviously with Ecom Cloud Club as well. And I think one of the interesting things is that I think a lot of brands used to sort of view that relationship as more transactional, in the sense that the agency would do something for them. It feels to me, and I think, if I certainly think about the best results we've had as an agency with clients, it's where that is, you truly are part of a team that works for a common goal. And which it sounds like what you've done. I mean, I guess the other question that sort of relates to that as well then is, in that relationship, and I think more generally with SEO, measuring the ROI of SEO, I guess, is tricky to say the least. But from your point of view, what are the metrics as an e-commerce manager that you look for to be able to prove or demonstrate some ROI from SEO?
Yeah, it's been a tough one, especially when trying to show the value of ranking and putting emphasis and effort in growing your non-branded traffic. Yeah, it is tough. Yeah, at the end of the day, revenue is what CEOs and C-suite people are interested in, revenue and profit. And so demonstrating a clear link between ranking and revenue going up for certain products I found really useful. In Avery Row recently, I visualized we were ranking number 1 for nappy bags. And then there's a nice correlation between, look, here's a change of bags and here's us ranking number 1 for it. It's like, it's clear. Put the effort in and you get the results. But yeah, it's all about small wins and build them up over time. It's like CRO, really. It's little and often, essentially.
Yeah.
Like, gotta get through.
I just have one final question. We're going to hand back over to Pete on this. Now, obviously, you've worked with different companies, and obviously you're sort of in that capacity within SEO, and obviously from a BI point of view. Do you find that obviously some C-suite are more in favor of SEO because maybe their knowledge is greater in that area than others? And I guess my other question is, for people in your shoes, where you are an e-commerce manager who needs to kind of get the C-suite on side, what can you do to get that C-suite on side with respect to SEO? Like, how can you get them interested? How can you get them seeing the worth of what you do from a kind of relationship between you and that C-suite? What things can you do to make that happen?
Yeah, totally. And honestly, I've yet to meet a C-suite who knew anything about SEO to start with. Every job has been it's been a new introduction to it, and they have different tastes, and you have to cater for each person, really. But I think at the end of the day, it's that visualizing, if we do X, you'll create Y in revenue. What we did in I think what something I've taken from Groupon as well, actually, in the BI team, was visualizing, here's the search volume, here's a potential click-through rate, here's if we ranked within 1 to 5, because you can get the click-through rates from various aggregators. You can work it out. This within 6 months, this is potential traffic, this is the conversion rate, therefore we could be getting this much revenue if you invested this. But the thing that they don't like is the ifs and the buts, and SEO is a long-term game. Like, you have to keep plugging away at it. But at the same time, since Google's algorithm updates are getting more regular, I've seen you can make changes and it comes through fairly quickly. I've even been very lucky and just rode the wave consistently each time and just happened to make the update at the right time each time. But if your site's doing the right things, it's not bogged down by too much technical debt, it's clear code, which I try and prioritize each company I work with. It's you get results fairly quickly. I don't have to go into Search Console and ask it to please crawl my page. Just make sure the internal linkings are good and it's got clean code, and Google does the work for you, frankly.
Awesome. Thanks, Jonathan.
So, Jonathan, many D2C brands, I think, and people working like e-commerce managers working within those brands probably underestimate the level of work involved with creating content and link building. How would you build a strong backlink profile and content strategy without getting bogged down with this?
Yeah, it's probably my weaker part of SEO, frankly. It's very difficult. Yeah, I've been very lucky to work with some very creative brand teams in my career, especially Piglet and Bed. They were very good. And also, I've been very lucky as well. I didn't have to work with particularly too dry a subject. So like D2C and the kind of similar products can be quite flexible. So like with bedding, you can talk about, just the vibes essentially. And the same with Avery Row, you can still talk about the vibes of nursery decor and how things, match with whatnot and decorate a nursery. So yeah, I've been very lucky with the kind of content I have to work with. If I was working for very dry B2B software sales, then I'd be struggling, frankly.
Like ball bearings or springs or something like that.
Yeah.
Apologies if you sell ball bearings and springs, by the way. I'm sorry.
But the worst thing I ever had to write was a voucher claim. I remember 300 words on sideboards, and it took me about 3 weeks. And it's like, I'll get back to I do 10 words a day, so I can't do this. It's so dry. But yeah, I've been very lucky, and I have lent on the expertise of the brand team because they are the creatives. With Novos particularly as well, there is a reason why we put our emphasis on the digital PR as well, so they can help come up with things. But I have been good at finding the long form kind of things to target, which I would then feed in to the brand team. And the brand teams, again, they wouldn't necessarily have an SEO background. I've almost been very lucky to be working with people who are very receptive to ideas as well and happy to adapt the ways of working. So especially with the whole updates recently with making sure you're using more human language. Because when I started, you could get away being fairly robotic and your content to churn it out. But now you have to really make sure that it's on brand, using natural language, not keyword stuff, which I haven't had to do for years. Knowing, you don't have to specifically even say the keywords. You can write around the keyword, and Google knows enough now to understand the context around it and the vibe of your site. Yeah, it's been very good. So everyone's been happy to upskill and happy to learn. Been very good and very collaborative.
And what's your approach to building and finding high quality backlink opportunities? And what's the risks involved there with those opportunities?
Mainly using tools like SEMrush and Ahrefs to try and find broken links, and you find who your competitors are essentially using, and there's loads of broken link opportunities there. So I generally try and target low hanging fruit before I even start. Think about large campaigns. What's a recent one I'm trying to think of? Yeah, it's just mainly fixing the broken links and targeting that cross section of publications. Let's say this is my weaker part of my SEO knowledge, because I'm happy to lean on the expert because it's very time consuming as well doing the outreach. And what I've learned as well with the synergy of social media and SEO is that the bigger your social profiles is the less work you have to do for link building. And so I'm always trying to push the brand teams emphasize growth in your Instagram and your social channels, because then you get the evergreen links, because journalists will see you as an expert and authority on the subject, then they're more likely to link to you without you having to outreach. So with Avery Row, since day one I said we need to double this, emphasize this social growth as much as possible. And I've been trying to, because it's still a small team, so I've been trying to take as much as I can from the brand and marketing teams, so they can just go out there and do what they need to do and to grow. So and then on the back of that, it's essentially some easy content opportunities, seeing what's working on your socials and emphasize it essentially. So whole nursery decor and seeing what your users like, build it for them rather than necessarily for the search engines.
Is that, you find that's the new strategy now? It's don't build for the search engines, build it for yourself, make sure that you're doing that for the user. And that actually is what Google and everybody else is trying to look for in any case.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, I don't know if it's it's happened deliberately, or it's just this is the nudges that Google have done over a series of years. But it's definitely how I play the game these days when it comes to link building. Grow your social media, and the links will come. So build it, and they will come essentially.
Yeah, Cool. And for those listeners that are maybe just starting out in SEO, could you explain broken links right down at sort of the basic level about what you mean by broken links?
Yeah, sure. So there's articles out there that have been published previously, and websites change, products come and go, and finding broken links is just a nice low-hanging fruit. So if you use tools like SEMrush or Ahrefs, they will pick up on either mentions of a competitor or yourself, if you've previously mentioned. And you just then contact the journalist or webmaster or whoever you can who owns that website and say, you ask them to change the link essentially to either link to you. Ideally, you want to say, hey, my competitor's broken. And you say, like, here's my alternative, it's better, it's more updated. If you can refresh this, because essentially the same content is going to be used every year for different journalists and publications. If you can do their job for them, great.
And would you say that trumps outreach and asking to do like guest articles or blogs as well?
I'm uneasy about the whole guest articles. I've heard it still works. I've heard that it can be penalised. I'm honestly unsure the best way to go about it. I've talked to an agency recently who were adamant that it's the best thing to do, and it's a really quick, easy thing to get you ranking. But I'm still unsure, frankly. I think play it safe. I think for Google wants you to play it safe. Like, don't the whole thing to ranking as well, and like all the spam updates recently, like don't cloak your website and things like that. So just don't do it. There's no reason to. So just play the game as Google wants you to play it, and you generally will be rewarded.
Awesome. And then you spoke a little bit earlier about this in quite a bit of detail, but in terms of crafting content, what have you found has been the best for not only getting people in, but actually converting as well?
Human language.
I think I'm asking you the silver bullet question.
No, it's good. Using natural human language, that really helps keep it short and snappy. So one thing I'm doing at Avery Row right now as well, I'm going through all the product descriptions and essentially summarising it, bullet pointing it. People don't necessarily. I've done various A/B tests now for over years, and it's proven the same thing repeatedly. They want bullet points, short and snappy. So I'm trying to, if you look at Avery Row, you can see bullet points everywhere soon. A lot more than they currently have. They want to know it now, and then get the context and the vibes elsewhere on the page. Like, if you can demonstrate quality in your images, it's better than saying we're quality in your copy.
Sorry, Peter. I'll just jump in. One thing I want to cover here. Is that right?
I was saying no.
Well, I mean, I'm going to do it anyway. I think it's important because I want to ask you about this at Econ Clag as well. There's a couple of things here that I've picked up on what you're saying is, and I think one is, seems like, when me and Pete started e-commerce sort of 10 years ago, SEO, PPC, design, brand, operations, they were all siloed and everyone did their own thing. And then it came together and it was basically a bit of a bloody mess. Let's face it. It sounds like to me that, look, times have changed. And I think I've definitely seen companies be more aligned together. What would be good, I think, and interesting to know is, let's say, for example, Avery Row decide to bring out a new product. In terms of then getting that product live on site, how does the process go between SEO, site, design, PR? So, like, how does the process evolve, and who, I guess, takes the lead in that particular situation?
Yeah, it's still evolving. Avery Row, still a young company, and been there less than a year now, and we haven't launched too many products in that time. And when the products I did launch were already sorted, and I just went through and optimized what was already there. But with the new products that are coming out recently, it kind of is. It's fairly dependent on our tech stack, really. It's everything was set up according to what we needed to do to actually order the products in the first place for our fulfillment center. So all the products and the SKUs needed to be already in Shopify and optimized. So a lot of the legwork went with the merchandising team. Then it comes in late where I have to then optimize the copy, which then came from the product and the brand team. That is changing. I need to get in early. Like, even just like in the product formulation stage, it's now got into like actually looking at what's the search volume. Like, before we even start moving ahead with these products, like, is there actually a market there? This cuts two ways, because you can create a market. Like, I saw this in Piglet Embed. I was very worried about they went for Ging embedding. And there's just like hardly any search volume. And it's like, are you sure this is the right thing? Because there's no search volume here on Google. But like, what do I know? It became their biggest bet. The biggest growth for them, and they really captured the market and at the forefront of the whole trend. So I learned a lot from that. Going like, I very much like, I want to say, saying the end is nigh in the corner, but like, I was worried. Like, we need to hit these targets, and this is the search volume. I am worried. Like, you're putting all your eggs in this basket. So I've been open to like, okay, here's the search volume for what this is. If we market it correctly, and if we're confident this is the trend we're going for, terrific. But if it does grow, here's how we would need to optimize. So in terms of like which point of the journey it is, it still has to be flexible to an extent, and we're small enough where we can get away with this. When you get bigger, so when Piglet and Bed grew, the whole getting live to market became a lot more complicated, more teams involved, and had a big spreadsheet and project management tools and whatnot. But now we can all sit in the same room. That's how small Avery Row is right now. We just talk about it, just do it there and then. So it just depends. Just be willing to be flexible and listen, and know that search volume isn't the end of the world, essentially. And also, we're still getting visibility in search. People use Instagram, TikTok now for their own search engine. That's snipping away at Google.
Absolutely.
But at the end of the day, I keep using that phrase, but again, like Thanos, I think Google is still inevitable when it comes to the conversion process at the end. Everything comes back to Google. Like, they will still Google to make, especially for a large purchase, they will, they come back to Google. It's inevitable. And they'll make the purchase. For a large purchase, it definitely that needs, a bit more thought. They'll Google and do more research from major search engines.
I mean, look, I think that, this leads me on to my next question for you, really. In terms of, you mentioned there about sort of AI search and obviously with Google. I think there's two aspects of this. One is from, with your SEO hat on and saying, look, in terms of using AI to better the SEO of the situation you guys have got over at the moment, is there anything that you've tried there that you thought, look, this has worked pretty well? And secondly, from a practical everyday level, in terms of your role, are you using any elements of AI to make your role easier from a day-to-day perspective?
I mean, definitely could. When it comes to optimizing meta descriptions, I barely scratch the surface of that kind of thing. It's good for the mundane, but I'm not going to use AI to just write the copy for me. I think that's crazy right now. Because if Google's looking for the human touch, you probably can get away with it. Some certain companies, but it's just not worth the risk. Just be authentic. So in terms of day to day, I think SEO still need a human. You can optimize to an extent and automate via AI, and it's good for getting inspiration from content already. You don't have to search for the net for ages. You just go to ChatGPT and say, what's the good aim target? What's called article ideas, that kind of thing. Or you ask it to, now I think it can actually look at the live internet right now. So you ask it to summarize a website for you, that kind of thing, summarize rich information. But I think, and the way AI is being used, it's still crawling and looking at your site similar ways that Google will look at it generally. So just make sure your site is as clean as possible, the code wise, and your content is written by humans, and you should be fine.
Jonathan, do you think that is, essentially you mentioned authenticity with what you're writing and making sure that you are a human. Do you think that's what the biggest driver is now towards video instead? Because it's a lot easier right now to tell when a video is done by a human than done by AI. Like, look, there's still a lot of people doing a good bit of AI. Do you think that's the main reason why video is becoming more and more popular, or do you think there's other driving factors on that now as well?
I think that's it's a good theory. I think definitely the authenticity of content is important with Google. That's why it's started ranking Reddit as well, isn't it? Reddit has already done because they already have mods there moderating all the content. Part of Google's job's already done for them to make it as not as authentic, but it's not. They're trying to get rid of the news as much as possible. But at the same time, it's still trusting some guy on Reddit. And even if the video, you can, videos get more sophisticated now. What's AI on videos get more sophisticated, so it is harder to tell. But it's definitely, I think, you feel like that is where Google is leaning, to try and verify if this is authentic quality content. But with the Reddit, it makes me nervous because just after using Reddit for a number of years, the kind of people are on there. Yeah, and just like and some advice. You look at it's some good reading, but like all that relationship advice stuff is like, you wouldn't trust that with scissors.
So Jonathan, you mentioned Reddit there. I've actually noticed, and I'm actually never somebody that's ever been on Reddit before. I mean, I think I have by accident when you've done some research or whatever it is. But I've noticed recently when I'm doing searches, the Reddits are coming to the top of Google right now. And I'm finding myself getting onto Reddit for no reason. And you get on there and you're like, well, just give me a link. And you like try and like scan there to try and see where you can get to a better source. I don't want to go through a whole bunch of people ranting about, like you say, baiting.
Like giving a life story, just I don't care, that kind of thing. But like, as well, like the whole, like, if we were to believe Reddit, then the US election would have been a landslide for the Democrats, that kind of thing. It's like, it's got a bias as well. It's like, and it's, if everyone's saying the same thing, and Google will then summarize that, it will make you think reality is different to actually what actually turned out, sadly. Yeah.
So is Reddit a strategy right now that you could be using for your SEO, your backlink?
No, definitely. Oh yeah, it's not a tactic right now. But one, capacity, and two, I ain't getting involved with that.
Hard no from Jonathan on Reddit.
With the browse, but I ain't digging. I'm not diving in.
Can you tag from now on everything I'm going to read on Reddit? I'm tagging Jonathan. So Jonathan, I know we're talking about some silly things right now, but in terms of somebody that's getting into SEO, what is your biggest tip? Where to start? What to do? Give us a little play down here on what a strategy should look like if you really starting to take SEO seriously.
Yeah, sure. Again, it depends on the company, and it's a bit of a long piece of string. But what I try and look at first is that low hanging fruit, and it generally does seem to be in the technical SEO. Are the markups working? Is the schema correct on the product page? Just like basic stuff. It's like, are your title tags even saying the right thing? Is it linking to the right thing? Because I've seen when I joined an Avery Row, like a lot of the title tags are wrong. And just little basic things like, it's like mentioning different products and different colors, and it's like none of this matches. So I cleaned all that up. And then the technical debt. Especially if you use Shopify or any other software that uses apps essentially, even if you remove an app, the code still stays there. So get rid of all the defunct apps, speeding up your site that way as well. That's a nice, easy way. And again, I can't do that from scratch. So you need to make sure that you have enough dev expertise within the organization to actually do these things. So I work with Wyro, as a Shopify growth agency, and I worked with them at Piglet and Ben. I've taken them over to Avery Row as well, and I always, really good. It kind of links back to the discussion about agency collaboration as well. It's just like, once you find your agency, you work really well with them, you can get best results, and it's a lot more efficient than jumping around. So we're going back with the what to target. I still would start with the technical SEO because that is generally low hanging fruit, rather than ripping up all the content, writing it all out again. Like just making your site faster and easier to crawl, and just doing the basic things. That seems to be that has a lot of the biggest early impacts. It's particularly what I did in Avery Row, and basically doubled organic traffic within a month. So it's really effective, and it's just like they're just identifying that early. And then then you can move on to your content and the imagery and whatnot. So well with Avery Row as well, feeding in all the product imagery, like using lifestyle imagery for one, improves conversion, and then it's improving conversion, improves greater helps Google know that what they're seeing is quality. So it all works hand in hand then. But I would still start, even if I take back what you said at the start. Said it depends on what company. No, go to technical SEO. It generally seems to be my experience. That's the lowest hanging fruit.
So the gazillion-dollar question then is, does site speed help your ranking?
I think it definitely helps, even in even just contextually for Google, because site speed helps conversion. Google likes it if people convert on the pages that they recommend in ranking. So if more people click, Google knows people aren't bouncing off straight away. They're staying with you, they're more likely to rank you further. And I've seen this consistently since my days at VoucherCloud. Lower the bounce rate, improve conversion, and Google will reward you. So if site speed is part of that, then terrific.
Cool. And then any horror stories from what you've worked on so far? Anything that you've seen from an SEO perspective of something doing something absolutely
I've yet to handle Google penalty. Personally, I have seen the Google penalty. I thought during my early days of VoucherCloud, but that it was part of the like schema markup on the blog. It's sort of really light. It's just like I just don't think it was a justified Google penalty, but you know, it was part of a wider thing. It was very resolved fairly quickly, but I haven't seen. I've seen other websites out there just like still spamming links, and like you can tell you just copied this from ChatGPT or and working with with affiliates. They just copy the content straight from your website and put it over there. It's like, please don't do that. You know, I'm trying to work with that. But like, I suppose some of the biggest horror stories is some of my early content ideas. Like I tried to pitch whilst at VoucherCloud to Waitrose, the middle class guide to the apocalypse. Yeah, that didn't get down well. Just like got on the phone. So I got the number. I got the PR number for Waitrose. You interested in this? No, great. You know, trying to make balsamic vinegar out of ants, that kind of thing. I don't know where my head at was that, but like, the idea was, whatever, it didn't work. Yeah, that's my personal. I was young, naive.
Yeah, we've all tried those whack ideas. Let's face it.
And then one more question before we jump to sort of the conclusion here. What's one must-have tool that you swear by that you couldn't do your role without? You can give us 5 if you really want to.
Search Console, really. I think it's a need to have Search Console. Even if you're not paying for ranking aggregator, it's got your rankings, got your clicks, it's got everything you need to know of how healthy your traffic is and brand versus non-brand. Yeah, Search Console is it's a mainstay, I think, and it's improved recently because you can see the last 24 hours now, which is you weren't able to do before. It's really useful. Yeah, and obviously it also tells you when Google doesn't like you, which is really good. It's got loads of technical things in there which you don't need to use necessarily other tools like SEMrush and Ahrefs where you can get by with what's on Search Console. So I know for a fact that like there's thousands of 404s from years ago on Avery Row just still need to clean up. I got all that from Search Console, and I don't actually pay for SEMrush. I just use the free trial each time. So hopefully they're not listening and they don't ban me. But I can get by, using the free trials and things just to make sure, contextually how the organic's getting on versus competitors, and you can get by entirely with Search Console, I think, for your day to day.
That's a nice big saving for you there.
Oh yeah, exactly. I work with bootstrap brands, and everyone dreams on a budget. Search Console is free.
Do you sell stuff online? Then you need Omnisend. Yes, that's Omnisend, the powerful yet refreshingly intuitive email SMS tool that helps you make on average $73 for every dollar spent. Like watching say lines go up and up? Just automate your email and SMS with Omnisend. Settle it once, then sit back and watch the sales roll in or you snooze. Oh, okay, you're still awake? Well, go to omnisend.com/ECC. Give Omnisend a try, and don't forget to use code ECC30 for a discount. And we are going to basically at this point then go over and see if we have any questions from the audience. So first of all, thank you so much, obviously, for coming on with us today and talking to us about your role and obviously about things that are going on within SEO and within your world. Peter, do we have any questions in the audience that we want to flash up?
Yeah, we've got nothing right now. Edward Scott Finnegan's there.
So if you are listening, guys, and want to have a question over to Jonathan, do pop them in there. Jonathan, I've got lots more questions for you, but one thing that I did want to ask you about is thinking about sort of the next 12 to 18 months, which I'm sure obviously a lot of people listening are, when it comes to sort of the wider sort of e-com SEO landscape, more AI, more short form, or do you think we're going to go back to kind of the good old fashioned Google? Like which way do you think it's going to go?
I'm leaning towards that short form, trying to get the videos into the SERPs. Trying to optimize for that as much as I can. I want to put all my eggs in that basket, but that is where I think it's leaning towards, especially now when it starts ranking TikTok and whatnot in the SERPs.
Any brands you think are kind of like ahead of the curve with sort of like non Google search in terms of, you've seen doing a good job in the likes of TikTok or obviously with ChatGPT?
Honestly, I haven't seen anything that stands out too much, frankly. Everyone's kind of in the same boat and everyone's just trying to get muscle along and try and figure it out. I did like, when I was a piglet, I remember when they started to surface all the short form videos direct from TikTok and whatnot. I think it was Pretty Little Things. They did a good job optimizing like the as seen on TikTok and then linking that back, and then having a whole resource dedicated to that, like embedding their videos that they put on their socials, put on their website, which is then linked to different things. I wanted to try and recreate that to an extent, but just ran out of time, resources really with that one, and also, at the end of the day with that one, it didn't do necessarily. While I kept an eye on it, it didn't. Google still hasn't. Like, if you were to Google, for example, or whatever, pretty often, by example of Avery Row, if you were to Google nappy bags, we've got a video-wise widget on our product page. Google doesn't pick that up. Like, it's, even though I've checked it and it's optimized, like, this is a video, please look at us as a video. We haven't got any. So next step with that one is to embed a video within our product images, and then mark it up as needed and see if Google picks it up that way. But with and when it comes, especially with Google Shopping, the short form, I think the videos will start leaking into there a bit more as well. And that's kind of another area I need to improve on, because I can rank collection pages all day, every day, seemingly, but it's the product pages, getting to Google Shopping. That's the next step for me and where I need to start focusing on where to improve.
I mean, one of the things that I just kind of come to mind as well about sort of, changes with obviously SEO. Obviously, Google now has sort of prioritized these AI summaries that are happening in searches. As a brand, how do you tap into that? Are there any particular areas where you can sort of ensure that you fall under that AI summary that is provided?
Yeah, so I've tried to do this via, the people also ask sections in Google. I've tried to see what's in there and then put that on our collection page. So I'm experimenting with right now to see if that gets picked up by Google. But then the kind of people aren't, when I look, for example, like what's the best nappy caddy, Google hasn't really done an AI overview yet of what that is for Avery Row. So it's yet to get sophisticated enough. So it's it will say there and then Avery Row has the best nappy caddy or something. But yeah, it's not even necessarily talking around it. It's from my experience, it's quite using it quite sparingly on the content in which the realms I'm operating in yet. If you're more information-based service, then it'll probably pick you up a bit more. But because we're a D2C brand with product-led content, it's less likely to pick it up, I've noticed so far. So when we start increasing more resources in our blog and other resources like that, I think we'll start picking up more. But for now, I'm just optimizing for people also ask questions.
Awesome. Thanks very much on that.
Jonathan, one of the things that we didn't really get into too much was short form keywords versus long tail, sort of more your question based search terms. How are you finding that right now?
Yeah, fine. Really. They both serve their purpose. It's the education behind it as to why you are targeting these different things and understanding the audience who come for these things, and knowing that necessarily a high bounce rate on an informational piece is not necessarily a bad thing. They just learn the information and know your resource when they've gone. Your job is to then make sure they stay, say, we're a resource, but also, have you seen this? While the short form is very much commercial, come in and buy from us right now.
Awesome. And then one final little nugget, if you don't want to, well, if you do want to, just give everybody that's listening sort of one final little piece of advice that they could go in action this week, bearing in mind we're on Thursday, almost midday for you guys here. What's one little thing that they can go and do to improve their SEO, which will take them 2 or 3 hours?
Yeah, you can easily, if you're working with a dev agency, ask them for a frank and honest evaluation of your tech debt. Essentially, you need to get on top of that, and knowing what to clean in your code base. I think, again, that is just a low-hanging fruit that people take for granted, especially if you use Shopify and you've had apps for years and you've taken them up and the code's still there. Just get rid of it, and it will speed you up straight away. And listen to your expert, essentially your dev expert or your growth expert. Put the resources there. I know, again, it's not glamorous, and you can say, oh, well, we'll put resources in towards improving the product page. But if you make it faster and Google likes it, user likes it, you'll get the conversion that you'll get the conversion and revenue now than you would get emphasizing your budget more on improving all your major touch points. Just clean your code base now.
Yeah, some good old-fashioned spring cleaning.
Essentially, yeah, pretty much.
Awesome. Well, look, Jonathan, it's been fantastic having you on here with us. Thank you for downloading. I promise you, I've learned a lot here from you as well. It's always good to speak to somebody that's in the trenches on this. Thanks for joining us.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Thanks so much, Jonathan. And guys, look, if you're not already following Jonathan on LinkedIn, do give him a follow. All his details will be wherever you are listening to this, just below. So you'll be able to obviously follow up with what Jonathan's doing, getting up to. As you've seen probably recently, Jonathan's also appeared at the Ecom Club in London. So, Jonathan, thank you so much for joining us, mate. Good to see you.
Yeah, thank you very much. See you next Ecom Club.
Will do. Take care. Cheers, Jonathan.
All right.
There we go. He's a good lad, isn't he?
Lovely. I love how there's just no BS.
Well, yeah, I mean,
and that's what it is, right?
That's it. And I think that's what I like about Jonathan, the fact that, look, he's not saying that SEO is the be all and end all, which so many SEOs do. And I think equally he's very level headed about the relationship that different parts of a business needs to play. And the fact that they do need to kind of come together to get a result, which I really liked, which I thought was great.
Yeah. I mean, I think the other sort of key takeaway there is that SEO isn't a dinosaur.
Yeah.
It's still there. It's still a growth tactic, and it's still, I think brands have sort of ignored this at their peril, and they need to make sure that they're going taking advantage of this now, especially considering the rising cost of customer acquisition. And this is something that you can invest in for the long term, right?
No, absolutely. And I think, that's it. It's ultimately, don't start crying about the algorithm if your website can't even keep user for 5 seconds. That's your fault. These are the things that you need to address.
Yeah. No, it was interesting how he was coming back the whole time to, it's got to be human, and it's got to be accessible for Google, but don't compromise the website. So when you get there, it converts, right?
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah. I actually, on that note, I seen a little GIF, which I'll share now.
Very topical.
Yeah, very, very topical right now, especially SEO and CRO.
Yeah. Video portion here, guys. There's a little meme on the screen, which you might have seen Elon and one of Trump's sons. And Bob, I don't know if you read it out for us.
Elon's got the tag SEO, and what's his name? Barron?
One of the Trump boys.
Barron's got CRO, and Barron's got a very dull look on his face. Elon is acting pretty odd. It reads, last year we generated over 1 million organic visitors, and then it says, but we only converted 0.37. Just some little fun there, isn't it? I mean, look, yes, we coming from the CRO background ourselves, right? We know that when we're working with SEO agencies, we've got to work hand in hand, and sometimes there's a bit of a compromise, and they want to use some words here and there, but at the same time, we've got to go, well, look, when they get here, we do have to convert them, so we need to use language and psychology to try and get those conversions. So we can't just have this keyword stuffed website that is just to make sure that the algorithm ranks you. It still needs to do the job. It's a typical, we're almost looking at SEO as the marketing team, and then we're looking at the CRO team as the sales team. The CRO team is responsible of converting that, right? And the marketing team, or your SEO team, is part of that marketing team to drive that traffic in. So it's just very important that people are doing those two things together, right? No,
absolutely. And I think, that Jonathan really kind of, I think, went to town on that point. And I think the other thing as well is, one thing he made very clear, and that I would agree with, look, ultimately, when your users bounce, your bank account does too. So ultimately, what you've got to do is fix your speed. And, Jonathan was saying that about the fact with site speed that he felt that it was a big impact from an SEO point of view. And ultimately, that whole piece about not being programmatic, don't write for robots. Make sure you're writing for people, with their wallets so that they use those wallets and then spend. So yeah, ultimately, all these things we covered off were really good points from my perspective.
Yeah, and also I was poking the bear when I asked him the question about site speed. I've heard people in the CRO space saying, the SEO space saying, "Oh, site speed doesn't matter." I mean, of course it does. It's 100% a ranking factor. It's 100% something that helps with conversion rates. You can't argue that fact. If you've got a slow loading site, you are not going to convert anybody. And I just think people need to stop thinking that there's an argument here. It's not. The faster your website, look, it gets to a point where it loads quickly. That's great. You don't need to go and then chase the next 0.1%. If it loads quickly and you understand that there's no lag time or loading time, that is going to be perfect for both Google and for your customers when they get through there. So can we rest that argument now?
This is the problem with LinkedIn, isn't it? This is the bullshit side of LinkedIn, in the sense that there is always, there was an argument that is trying to be created all the time between different elements. And, ultimately, e-com is just another business. And you can't come out and say that one element, if you're running an ice cream shop, you can't say that actually, the most important thing is actually how you make the ice cream or where you get the ice cream from versus the person serving it. They've all got their role to play. And it's exactly the same, when it comes to e-commerce. This bullshit rhetoric of one thing being more important than the other is completely wrong. And we have these conversations too, don't we, with our clients. Yes, we're a CRO agency, but if they come to us and they look, actually, we've got no traffic and actually we're not putting any money into paid ads or SEO, we go, look, guys, there's no point you working with us. You need those people to be there.
Yeah,
that's a plea from me more than anything. It just, look, people do it to get engagement, and let's face it. But
your favorite thing is when someone comes to you and says, "Look, we're working with you now, so we're going to turn off our paid ads." It's like, no. This is the perfect time for you to optimize those ads, because we're going to help you convert more. Ultimately, that will bring your customer acquisition costs down because you're converting more people when they get here. Advertising is going to become cheaper for you. It's all of these little things play hand in hand. And I think the interesting thing, Jonathan sort of touched on this in saying working with agencies is very important for him, but it's the communication, just like what we were talking about earlier, where internal teams don't communicate with each other. You've got the product development. If your agencies aren't communicating with each other right now, they're going to do things that are different, and they're going to be doing things that aren't aligned. So, if we're working with a client and they're also working with an SEO agency, and that SEO agency goes and changes things on site while we're busy doing an A/B test, well, what's going on? How are you going to know what's actually happening with any of your metrics, and what's the point in doing any of that?
Yeah. It's interesting because obviously we work with the guys at Melt. Hey, Melt, how you doing? And, look, I think the communication between us is really good. We have joint meetings with them and also the agency. I've been hearing a lot recently about brands setting up Slack channels whereby they have all their agencies within one Slack channel. And I think stuff like that, it's really important, but just not often done, because there's this feeling, look, everyone's doing their own bit. No, it's got to be threaded together, or what's the point?
If they're not, then the blame game starts, right?
Oh, yeah. And we've had that, haven't we, with Blend? We've had that client before where, they were using SEO agency. They were giving different instructions to different teams, and it went to shit. The only way that we solved it is by us having to spend a lot of time to explain the situation that was there. And in the end, we did have to come in, obviously sort things out. But there was no need for the situation to materialize.
Just communication.
Yeah.
Simple.
Yeah.
Keep it simple, right?
Keep it simple, stupid.
Why is your head so big on this? Is it because you're close to your screen?
It's because my eyesight is poor, and I'm struggling to see the comments. So Darren Flynn, good combo. Thanks, mate. And also see the questions, but equally, that my suite is rather large.
It is, and you can't fit into a normal baseball cap, right?
Correct.
All right. So should we talk about some things that are going on in the news right now?
Yeah, go for it. What are we talking about, mate?
So I don't know if you saw this, but it really did catch my eye because you obviously know I'm geeking out on AI right now and how we can use that within our business to streamline everything that we do in a smart way with automations. Super interesting to see 800 billion Trump has allocated to AI in a project they're calling Stargate. Companies involved: Oracle, OpenAI, SoftBank. I can't remember. NVIDIA, I think that might be the word. The one that stock price is just exploding at the moment. It's not going away, right? It's staying, and it's only going to get bigger, better, faster, more powerful. It's going to do more things. What's the play? What's the play here for e-commerce brands?
I think ultimately with AI, what I'm seeing, I think, is two ends of the scale at the minute. There are three elements, I guess. There is the one group they're completely ignoring, going, la, 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 the stuff doesn't matter. Do as we did. Okay, wrong thing to do. The second side is diving into it too hard and saying, we're just going to use ChatGPT now for blog content creation and get it on. Wrong thing to do. The other side is where they're saying, and this is the brands that I like, from that perspective of what we got going on in the business, what do we need to do that we can't currently do with our time and our budget? And then they're using the appropriate tools then to then use that to optimize the business. Now, whether that is, like Jonathan was saying before, their competitor research, great. If that's you, fine. But I think, equally, again, if it is about kind of then making sure that, look, from a data point of view, you've got clean data, you're analyzing that data correctly to get the right answers. That is another way I think that, strong brands are using it to then get involved. I think the danger is if you're just ignoring it, you are going to get left behind, number one. And I think the problem is that with everyone, slowly making those steps towards this, you're just going to find that even worse. And then equally for those ones that are kind of, I guess, going too hard in a way and having the over-reliance, you're also then going to get penalized. So I think it's just, for me, it's about, look, with AI, if you're a D2C brand, take a breath, work out what you can't do or not doing currently, and then go out there and research those different tools that are available. Because look, you and I know this, Bob, look, every e-commerce tool out there at the moment is either bolting on AI or changing their name to something AI. My problem with that is, in some instances, AI is actually being used in the sense of it is being crafted to actually bolster and improve that tool. The problem is where, you're kind of saying, well, look, actually, we're sticking, we're taking a product that we've had for a long time, and actually we're still using chatbots from 2017 to then make an AI product. For me, bollocks. What is the point? You're not adding anything fundamental to your product. And if you are, a tech brand out there that's doing that, you're not going to add anything to your bottom line, because look, brands are not stupid. They're going to get onto that and go, look, there is absolutely 0 point of us using this AI component of this tool. So there's good out there and there's really bad shit going on, in my opinion.
Yeah. I think you hit the nail on the head there. I think it is important that brands now go, like you can't turn a blind eye to this, right? If you're gonna get stuck in the industrial age here if you do not start learning how to use AI. That's my little preach on that, and I know that you and Kelly and the team are probably sick of hearing it from me, because I'm saying, look, we have to get this stuff implemented. We have to do these things. But Jonathan was touching on this quite a lot as well in terms of bootstrapped, and so many brands are bootstrapped, right? And let's face it, shit isn't getting cheaper. But what is going to get cheaper, and I think what this big investment in AI is going to get cheaper, right? It's going to become something that, it already is. It's something that for $20 a month, everybody can get their hands on it. You can start playing around with it. You can start learning what it can do. And then when you start seeing what they're doing with agentic and how they're actually building out these different agents and things like that, it's crazy to go, hell, I'm not going to look at that. And you've got things on your plate that you're not tackling right now as a brand. So for instance, if you're a brand and you're not doing social media, short form videos, shit, go and look at the tools. Opus Clip, you can smash out. You can do long form videos, and what we're doing. That's essentially what we do. we're recording Econ Collab Club, we're recording our podcast, and then we're just going to break this down into little pieces off the back of, and that thing's got AI, generates the subtitles for you. It cuts the screen into the right area for you so that it focuses on the person talking right now. And ultimately, you can then go and repurpose that anywhere. Now, if you were doing that before AI, you were probably going to have an in-house videographer. You're going to have somebody that can cut it up, do a graphic design on that element as well. Then you have to have your social media manager to go post that. Whereas now you can just have one person to go and do that. And ultimately, it's moving to a point where you won't even need that person to do that because it'll all plug into the same system, and it'll just be this flow of automation that just goes dum 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 dum, all done for you.
This is a good point you make as well, mate. Is that look, I think sometimes when you mention AI and e-com, there is a perception that it has to be about directly what you're going to do on the site, but actually it can be about those operational things. Because like Jonathan was saying, look, time just literally in e-com just slips through your fingers like sand, and let's face it. So looking at you can say, well, number one, is there anything from a site point of view that we could use to be better, to do things quicker? But secondly, in terms of my day-to-day, which I think, is how we're using it a lot internally at Blend, can we speed stuff up more efficient? So I think, it's kind of looking at those two slices of it, isn't it? It can be used in both contexts.
Yeah. I mean, to press on that, one of the things that's very time consuming when we're doing CRO work and we're doing our qualitative research is message mining, right? Not message mining, sorry, excuse me. The word is escaping me.
That's all right.
Card sorting. That's the one I'm looking for. Message mining is another one that takes time, right?
Yeah.
But card sorting is, for those of you listening that maybe don't know about card sorting. Card sorting is when you take, especially if you've got a lot of products and a lot of product categories in your website, it's when you take all of those products and all of those different categories and you write them down on one little card, and then you take those to your customer base or your target demographic or anybody that's shopped on your website. You do customer surveys with them. You give them this card deck and you ask them to go and sort it into their logical categories, right? Awesome exercise. Amazing returns off the back of it, because at the end of it, you get a sorted navigation that's more logical for your customer base, and you get some great results, specifically around conversion rates. People are finding the products quicker, and then average order value, because they ultimately then go and they can order more products as well because they're finding shit quicker. Now, one of the things that I just built out today was a custom GPT, which will go and search. So this is for people that want to bootstrap it, don't want to go through the whole process of going out to their customers and using AI and all the knowledge with something like ChatGPT. Is I've built out this GPT that ultimately will now spit out the recommendation on how you should restructure your navigation. All you have to feed it is your sitemap. So you just go and download all your sitemap and you give it to this GPT, and boom, it spits out a report on what the recommended navigation should be for your website. Now, guys, it's ChatGPT. It's not going to be 100% the first time, but if you play around with it and you carry on prompting and you say, oh, that doesn't seem quite right, work with it off the back of that result, you're going to get something that is understanding ChatGPT's logic is a large language model. It's spitting out what the most predictive thing is. And isn't that exactly what we're looking at right now? When we're doing a card sorting, it's going, this is the most logical thing to do. So it's not now going and changing your site copy, and you're not using AI to do that. You're actually asking it to crunch numbers and asking it to crunch data and give you the results of the back of it. 100% use that with caution, but it's a great exercise. And you've got to have that human touch at the end of it to then go, okay, cool, this is logical, this isn't logical, and then going doing that. And then if you do have the budget to go and then talk to your customers, you've actually got something that's got a good base, and you can go to them and say, hey, why don't you try this now? Look at this. Is this logical? Would you consider any changes to this, instead of giving them the whole exercise from the start? So it's just those little cheats, speed up the process, make it cheaper, because doing custom research is not cheap, right? So using AI to do that, it's going to cheapen that. And now it's accessible, like I say, to everybody.
Yeah, totally. Well, look, I think we've nailed the good side. What about the bad from this week?
The bad from this week, I think we got to continue the whole Trumpisms right now. Back, right? So the bad news for the US market and anybody selling into the US market, tariffs are back. Major hit countries, I believe, are Canada, Mexico, and China. Why does this suck? Ultimately, if you're competing on price, right, it's now become a hell of a lot more difficult for you because your products have increased, right? Probably going to start doing some other things. What would, if you were a brand right now, Adam, what would you be doing?
I think, look, ultimately, look, if you're relying on those cheaper imports at the moment to compete, having that plan to stay in business, look, that's going to be the most important thing. I think, what's going to be, with this is, look, I understand politically and economically the decision that's been made, because ultimately, Trump his plan is to strengthen the US economy. And then ultimately, if these tariffs come in, the idea is that then look, more is made then within the US, more jobs are created, and then generally, the country is in a better position. The problem, I guess, with this is going to be is that in the short term, there is going to be a lag in that. So ultimately, I think, if you are in a position whereby you're saying, look, you do have a supplier in one of those other countries, I think it's about saying, look, how can we make efficiencies elsewhere? Realistically, 12 to 12 months, 24 months, I think, you're not going to see a great deal of difference in terms of what's happening. But I think, when it comes to the rest of your business, are there any other ways that you can be leaner? Are there in terms of your manufacturing process, maybe, look, that is, it's fixed, but are there other markets that you can maybe tap into where maybe those tariffs aren't coming in from, or indeed think about sort of the production process in general, other the components or bringing those components together, you could then get that product made within the US if you're, again, a US based retailer. I think, the thing for me is it's that you've got to look at those other ways. I mean, from an e-com perspective, what would you say, Bob?
I think it's almost like the same as what we were advising people when ads, customer acquisition costs started skyrocketing, right? That's one of your growth metrics. That's one of your growth levers. You've got to now look at going, our margins are getting squeezed now, so what can I do? Well, one of the things you can do is obviously look at other areas that reduce your margin as your customer acquisition cost. Yeah, customer acquisition cost is something that you really are going to struggle to bring down. Yes, you're going to find some silver bullets if you're throwing a lot at it and trying to find those things, and that's what brands do. You eventually find that one that is that little golden nugget of an ad or whatever it is that drives a lot of traffic to your site, and the acquisition cost comes down naturally. The other levers are you got to start looking at how you optimize your website. How do you get more? And ultimately, it's getting more money per visitor. It's so how do you do that? Conversion rate increase, average order increase, customer retention. Basically, it's all those other things that historically, I would say, when times were really good for e-com, when acquisition costs were really easy and you didn't have to worry about everything else, because it was like, if I pay Facebook $1, I get $20, right? Those days are gone. A lot of brands are actually paying $50 to get the first sale of $40 because they now know that they've got to retain that customer. And they're only making money on the second, third, fourth purchase at some place. Especially subscription model businesses. It might be some time before that becomes profitable.
Yeah.
And I think this is just a further driver on, hell, we've got to focus on all those other things and ultimately just make your business more rounded.
Definitely.
You can't neglect anything anymore, can you?
No, exactly. And I think, look, subscription businesses did find last year's tough. Let's face it. And there was a lot of churn going around. I think people were unsure, about what was happening in the economy. But I think secondly as well, the subscription model, as it was of subscribe and save, if you're just going with that play, we know that isn't working more, because the emphasis, saving 10 or 15% on a subscription, that really kind of isn't enough now. If I think about obviously clients and that sort of AOV play that we've had at Blend, sort of past 6 months, I think the big thing for us has definitely been going down the bundle route. Like, you're giving the ability for a customer to create their own bundles rather than just kind of saying, look, we also recommend. But secondly, kind of pre-curated bundles as well. I was talking to a brand yesterday actually about their particular products. They've got 4 different SKUs, all of which are relatively high ticket items, but they were not doing anything at all in relation to sort of trying to cross-sell or in its simplest form, but equally, of having maybe 3 different options of bundles, depending on where they are in their particular journey related to the product. So that side of it, I'll completely agree with you. Look, we can talk about upsell and cross-sell, but equally making that journey on the site easier to lead them into understanding, okay, there is more than just one option of buying that original product by itself, and what are the benefits of bundling these products together, particularly, if you're in the wellness space, if you're in the food space, in the pet food space, all of those are completely ripe when it comes to that bundling setup.
Yeah. Should we move on to, so that was good, bad, and the ugly. You want the ugly?
Yeah. Let's do it.
Ugly like you.
Thanks.
I'm so kind to you today. So the ugly is bad news. There's been a rise on scammers on e-commerce. Surprise, surprise. Recent studies showed 150% increase year on year. In 2024, it was 150% increase on, some scammers stealing your money. Total value of stolen money with scamming e-commerce sites, $8 billion. So, that's globally, but that just shows you how big this market of fake websites and scammers selling you products but never delivering and shutting down their store, and you never know how to get that money back. So, why does this matter for us? Well, it matters because we've got to make sure that your website looks trustworthy, right? So the likelihood of somebody having been scammed now when they visit your website, having been scammed before, and put my hand up, I've been scammed before, and I deal with websites all the time. But ultimately, you think to yourself, okay, cool, I'll go into the Shopify store, everything's going to be perfectly fine. Ultimately, these people are setting up little bank accounts and companies in the strangest places, and you don't know where that money's going when you first look at their website. And it looks like a good deal. The old saying, if it looks like too much of a good deal, it's a scam, right?
Absolutely. I think, as well, the thing is, look, with the fact that these scams are rising, anyone sitting there listening to this and saying, look, actually, building trust is a nice to have. It's not. It's got to be a baseline thing that you do. And, making sure that you show people what payment methods you have, showing that you're secure, showing reviews, showing guarantees, warranties, all these things that are probably somewhere on your site, get them on your damn product page. And the amount of sites that we review when we do CRO audits, we don't see this stuff on the product page is staggering.
Yeah.
And we've got to switch on to that fact now that your PDP, your product page, has got to do the trust building, because people are not going elsewhere on that site, especially when they're coming in from an ad. Yeah.
It's a landing page, right? It's your sales page. It's the place that you give them the confidence to say, okay, cool, I'm going to give you some money right now. And we touched on this a bit earlier in terms of videos as well. And I think videos, and especially videos from your customers, are probably the biggest trustworthy thing right now. If you look, reviews are great, and reviews, a lot of people still read reviews, but the problem is a lot of people are getting smarter to reviews as well now. They're getting to understand that reviews sometimes can be done unethically, and people can only publish their 5 stars. And for heaven's sake, please do not just publish your 5-star reviews. Anybody that looks at a website right now and sees only 5-star reviews is not going to believe it. You're better off publishing one of those shitty reviews that give you a 1 star that you dealt with as with your customer service, and then answer that review and give your reasonings on what happened or what it was and how you dealt with it, how you made it right for that customer. But that bad review will actually then help you sell again in that objection when you reply to that bad review.
Yeah.
Bit of a tangent there. Going back to the videos side. Videos, so important, because, like I say with those things, you're actually seeing another customer having shopped with it or having bought one of your products. If it's them unboxing, there's unboxing experiences, anything like that, go and find them on socials, go and pull them onto your website and put it there. And there are going to be tons of them. And it's just another way you can use your influence, your brand influencers as well. And I think when you use your micro influencers, get them to give you their videos as well to actually go and put on site. So many brands are not using their influencers for on-site messaging. They're only using it on that acquisition side
Yep.
to drive people to the site, not to then show the social proof on the website as well.
Exactly. And look, Jonathan talked today, didn't he, about video wise. And like I said, you've got apps like Live Me Up as well that do similar things to those guys. And I think that is definitely something. Jonathan clearly made that point today, didn't he? But ultimately, when it comes to SEO, he's working very closely with socials and he's trying to cross-pollinate those two things. So again, you're bang on there. There is so much gold in brands that come to us on their Instagram and their TikTok, and then look on their product page and there's some crappy, 2 images of the product. You've got on Instagram, someone doing a full product review, showing how to use it, showing them wearing it in different locations. Get it on the product page. That's what's going to sell. Not just, some flat lay image that you did 3 years ago. Need to calm down. But yeah, it just grinds my gears. It really does grind my gears every time I see it.
You're getting very angry there with the non-use.
I know. I'm angry at life.
You need to. You probably need a coffee. You got in there and straight onto the podcast. No coffee.
I think I need some CBD. Shout out Floris.
So we just touched on the influencer marketing and how brands are using that on socials. And probably a great time to touch on what we're doing next week. Next week we'll be back same time live on LinkedIn. Considering adding a YouTube live as well. I don't know if people watch that, but maybe we do that as well. Push it to some more places and let's see. So next week we're talking to Connor. I'm going to say this name so wrong. Connor Jafar. Have I hit that right, Adam?
Jafari, I believe it is.
Jafari. There we go. Posey Crew Club. Connor, sorry for absolutely butchering your last name there. Yeah, Connor's going to be talking to us about influencer marketing and e-commerce. Topical, what we've been talking about this month. So it's come up
We
again.
need to ask him about the recent Molly May documentary that's just come out about her and Tommy Fury, and obviously the fact that Molly May was related to the brand. So looking forward to diving into that one.
There we go. So make sure you find that on our page. You will find it already there to register for that live as well. If you are listening to this on a record, just make sure you head to the Ecom Collab Club and you will find our events listed there as well.
Correct, on Monday. Well, guys, look, thank you so much for tuning in today. This has been the Ecom Collab Club podcast. I'm Adam Pearce, and this is Peter Gardner, and we see you next time. Cheers.